to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash.
Surround yourself with people that bring out the magic in you.
And Dale Hummel.
Education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Ryan, I am back. No malaria, no yellow fever, no snake bites, no animal
You've
attack.
only been back like 10 minutes. You don't know. You could still be dying of some debilitating disease. You
I have
just
some
didn't
very
get
odd
mauled
bumps.
by a lion or a hippo.
And Ethiopian air stayed in the air. Well,
Yeah. Okay.
I do have some very odd bumps on the back of my neck.
See, there's still hope.
Do you remember those shows where you got like the worm inside you or whatever? I've seen
No,
those
that would be
before.
RFK.
It's possible. That is possible. So all is good there. And Chase and I are available for guided tours of Namibia for hire. Inexpensive, safe, stunning. Ryan, you going to sign up for the first one?
No, I'm not at all.
We cannot get you to go.
There was
Under
not
any
one single picture or video that you sent that I even remotely interested me. None.
Not necessarily a wildlife kind of person.
No. Mm-mm. No. None.
Oh my! I can't imagine. It was an experience from my standpoint that irreplaceable. Probably if you discuss with Chase, the best trip we've ever taken in or out of country. It was just
I'm
good.
so
Very, very
excited for both of you.
good. I don't know. I received a lot of text checking in on me, and that leads me to believe that you put out there the assumption that I would not return or be injured.
I thought, and what I put out on the podcast while you were gone, is that I basically thought this was a ploy from Holly to get rid of you, and that she doubled your life insurance and sent you to die. That's basically what I said.
I really just to be very, very transparent and truthful, Namibia, in my opinion, and I've only been there in South America on that continent, but the safest out of country experience I have had outside of doing something stupid with wildlife. As far as crime and the other people, no issues. It appears as though
That's because they have no weapons, they have no phones, and there aren't any of them. I never thought you were going to get hurt by a person. I thought you were going to get killed by a wild animal. That is what I said.
There are occasional, the rental car agency goes over some of those things with you, and they say that every year there's vehicles come back with damage from elephants and rhinos. You have a car. You are faster than they are. Only one time that I can think of, Chase is driving the car, the vehicle is shut off, elephants come in behind.
Chase is not old enough to drive.
Yes, he is. And another one, an adolescent kind of comes at the front, and it's a little bit of an issue, but no problem. You put it and you just go. Go. All good. Great trip. Exciting. Chase and I may discuss it more on one of his Beyond the Realms at some point. But Ryan, I appreciate it. I want to thank you for covering while I was gone. That was not the intent, even though you may have thought I just wanted to break for a couple of weeks. But I'm not the best at traveling with equipment, and the microphone did not survive the trip very well.
But anyway, it's fine. You're back. You didn't die. You didn't even get maimed. I'm very disappointed.
That's okay. There may be a worm inside me. You can hope for that.
Yeah, you can be RFK. That'd be great.
Wouldn't that be perfect?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've missed everything. Like
I noticed.
You missed everything. Today, closing arguments in the Trump trial. It's gonna be so crazy. But
I did get to discuss politics one time while I was gone.
Yeah, you told me.
Yeah, one guided tour.
The naked bushman called him Slow Joe.
Not the naked bushman. He was not naked. He called him Slow Joe. This was a safari guide. We only hired one official guide because we couldn't go into that area at night. It was a night safari. And this guy, you would say, Ryan, he does not live in civilization. I think he's intelligent, but he sees Joe exactly as we do. He thinks he's incoherent. His mind is gone. He also brought up, and I don't know if I talked to you about this, once he brought up politics, obviously I brought up China. And he went on a dissertation, like you would expect me to, that they've purchased all the harbors, the diamond mines, any of the rare minerals, the gold mines, that they own the essential products in Namibia that allows that country to continue. So they're obviously doing the same thing everywhere they're allowed to do so. It is interesting that somebody that I'm going to assume maybe he has TV, but he disconnected for the most part, but still understands it. So there is no excuse, and this is not our listeners, but there's so many people in the United States that still do not see this happening, that still do not admit or acknowledge that Joe has lost his mind. It's not a matter of lack of accessibility. It's just a problem of intelligence. I think our country has dumbed down to the point that it concerns me.
There you go.
What other current events have I missed out on? I told you.
Trump trial. The Trump trial. Everything has been the Trump trial. That is all that has been on any mainstream media outlet since you left. Now, of course, the jury's been gone for a week and they still covered it every day, all day, and nothing's been happening. But today is closing arguments. And
so they released the jury for a week to go get influenced by those around them and the media, so
correct.
They can then come back and make a judgment.
Yeah, basically.
Brilliant. Just great.
Yeah. I thought it was great too. Yeah, I thought it was very interesting. And so closing arguments are today, and the judge seems to think that's going to take all day or possibly all day and part of tomorrow, and then he's going to charge the jury, and then they're off to deliberate. Which, the other thing about the trial that I still, and maybe it's going to happen today, I don't know, but Trump's lawyers made a motion to have this dismissed because there has been no evidence of a crime presented. And the judge, man, like, he talked to Trump's lawyers about it. And, like, they had a discussion, but yet he's never ruled on that. Like, I mean, he said he'd taken under advisement and nothing. So, I know nothing about being a lawyer other than I watch a lot of TV shows as a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure that when people, like, make motions like that, you have to at least say yes or no. Not so much.
You would assume so. I'm concerned the fact that he seems to be guiding, from what I pick up from the media since I've been home, that he is really trying to guide the jury, and it's not in a good direction.
We don't know because he hasn't given them any direction yet. He has to do that after closing.
In terms of what his demeanor and the way he treats the defense versus the prosecution, those type of things. Which I
mean, like I said, even CNN and MSNBC have been like, okay, they have even pretty much said this is all a sham, whatever, and so it's going to be nuts. Very, very strange, but I'm here for it. I just wish, like, they would have let cameras in the TV, because it's very hard to follow, because you're basically getting a play-by-play from people that are in the courtroom that are, like, writing notes to the pundits on the TV, which I'm sure they're doing as good a job as whatever, but, like, you know that things fall through the cracks and whatever. So I wish they would have just put it on TV.
I agree, and I don't agree that they're doing as good a job as they can. I assume most of them are biased one way or the other, and I would much rather just see the transparency and form that opinion myself.
Exactly. I just want to watch it, but they said no. So.
And are you under the consensus that Joe is absolutely out? He is not running. Can you accept that yet?
No, I think Joe is running. I don't think they're going to allow him to run. I have said this before you said it. I do not know why you keep thinking that I am different. Joe doesn't know he's not going to run. They have not told him yet. And I don't even know if I said this on the podcast last 2 weeks or not. I am of the theory now that the June 27th debate is the catalyst that gets him out of the race. They're not going to give him the Adderall or the drugs or the shots or whatever to get him all wired up for an hour and a half like they did on the State of the Union. He's going to go out there and he's going to make a babbling buffoon idiot out of himself. And that is what then they're going to pull him.
You're the only one that I've heard this from. And what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense. There's logic behind it. And I hope you're wrong. Because I
hope I'm wrong too, but they said forever that they weren't going to debate him, that there's no reason to debate Trump, whatever, all this other stuff. Now we're going to have a debate on June 27th before either one of them are officially the Republican and Democratic nominee. I mean, they're the presumptive, but they're not. Like, it didn't make any sense. So I think they're going to use that performance as the catalyst to kick him out. My question in all of it is, I think he has to go out willingly, and I don't know how they get him to that point.
See, I agree, because he is not going to. He refuses to. I believe his health has to be a real issue where he has a problem where they may kill him. Do something to him.
I mean, that's the only hiccup in this. They gonna have.
He's not going to pull himself willingly. He just
right.
He believes.
That's my thing. So that's
I'm with you. I think they have enough information to blackmail him out, whether it be Hunter, China, Russia, whatever it may be. There's enough dirt there that they could probably push him out. And I think under that circumstance, they're obviously not going to use that. I believe if he's backed into a corner and he doesn't want that to be exposed, if they are blackmailing him, it will be a health issue that he'll come out and say, hey, I just went to the doctor. I'm concerned about this. That's his way to step down, saving face.
The man has, I'm sure, several health issues he could pull from, but I just, I'm very anxious to see how they get him out and then who they put in, because I mean, there have been contested conventions before. This isn't a first or whatever, but who will it be? So it'll be very, very interesting, but we'll see.
No, it will. Ryan, I nearly forgot something very important.
Oh, imagine that.
Well, Chase and I were traveling around Africa. We were searching for that gift for Ryan.
I did not need anything. There is nothing I need from Africa.
I'm aware, but you're a hard person to buy for. So we put some thought into it. We need something that has, some status symbol to it and practicality. And I know those two things don't go together well.
Yeah. Because
exactly. But we're trying to bring the practical side in. So do you or do you not fly to as many shows across the country to judge as anybody that you know?
Yeah, I do.
On the airplane a lot.
Yeah.
We got it. We did it. It wasn't until our way home that we decided what it was.
I cannot even. He hasn't even told me he bought me a gift till right now. So, oh my!
I did not say I bought it yet. I did not use that word. But and see, you're flying first class. You're not in the backside. But on the international flights, even in the cheap seats, remember what airline did I fly?
Death Wish Airlines.
Ethiopian Air. And I think it's a very tried and true plane from the 70s, but made a lot of trips safely, which is good. So they give you these nice blankets that are wrapped up in this nice little plastic. You've seen them before, correct?
Yeah.
This one has Ethiopian Air written on it. It's soft, it's comfy, and we left it in the bag. And we have it sitting here in my office to present to you. So status being Ethiopian Air, and warm.
It's
perfect,
free.
isn't it?
Yeah, and you didn't even have to buy it. It was free.
I don't know. Are you allowed to take those?
I would think because they can't repackage them and give them to somebody else.
They do. No question that this is not a new one, but it is repackaged.
Interesting. I would figure that would be illegal after COVID.
You would think. I think Ethiopian Air has a little different standard, maybe. It's very possible, but we'll make sure to get that to you.
Perfect. I'm so excited.
What else do you have for current events? I'm
I
pretty
don't.
much current event lists.
Look, I am trying to explain to you, sir, nothing has happened in America other than the Trump trial. That's it. That's the only thing that's happened.
And we really...
the Bronx rally. That happened.
Oh, I saw a little bit of that. That was impressive, wasn't it?
Yeah, like 25,000 people in the Bronx or whatever. But yeah, so
And I don't believe he's going to win New York, but I think it opens the mind to other minority voters outside of New York that it may gain some traction. That was the benefit I saw from it.
Yes.
So hopeful, very, very hopeful. I heard 30,000 Chinese came across the southern border last month.
Oh, I'm sure. Way more than that.
In the little clip that I saw, Ryan, they've got nice luggage on wheels. They're roller bagging across the border, literally. Roller bagging. They fly into Mexico City and or Tijuana, roller bag across the border. My concern is the Chinese Communist Party issues the passports and or visas. And for the most part, they're pretty much in control who comes and goes out of the country, especially their citizens. They are not going to intentionally send 30,000 people, allow 30,000 people to basically deport into the United States. There's a reason for this. And I'm not saying that all of them that are coming across the border are Chinese special agents, but I guarantee you they're taking advantage of it. And that concerns me.
I think everything at the border concerns everyone, but you the most.
No, I don't think some people even care. I don't think it's even on the radar.
Ma.
Not our listeners, obviously, but others out there in our populace.
If you're done with current events, because there aren't any, I will announce the top 10 novice hog exhibitors in the nation as of now. In first is Bailey Tucker from California, followed by Camden Hyman of California. Third is Holt Sims of Texas. Fourth is Melania King of California, followed by Waylon Bardwell of Arizona, and then Kason Weber of California. Trice Hofstadter of Illinois. Do you know those people? Dale, is that the way to pronounce it?
I am not going to. I cannot tell you how to pronounce that last name.
Cohen Hill of Alabama, followed by Clara Hill of Alabama in ninth, and rounding out the top 10 is Luke Bauer of Ohio.
I could have helped you with the Hill part, with
Small
the Hill
children.
pronunciation.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty well distributed.
Yes, some
Congratulations,
Alabama
Junior.
people, an Illinois person.
That may be
Ohio.
one of the first Illinois we've heard in months.
Yeah. Y'all don't have
Months.
shows.
Haven't you been up here sorting some shows? Some big shows?
I did one. I think the only one in the state, but yeah, I did one.
No, the shows.
You tell me all the time y'all don't have shows.
This time of year, we've been showing some goats nearly every weekend.
But not
And
in
there's
your
been a few
state.
big shows. No, we travel primarily to Indiana. You are correct. We do have a few shows we're going to in Illinois. Our little show series, state series, is starting up, I think, this coming weekend. Maybe it was last weekend, but yeah, it's all going. It's all good. All good. With that, Ryan, I hope you did the water boy duties while it's gone.
You said you were going to take care of it. I did do it. I think I was terrible at it, but I did do it.
Oh my! Well, I want to reach out to Show Fresh H2O. They continue
and
to
apologize
and apologize that maybe the water boy duties weren't the same, but I'm sure they were good. So the listeners could help us out here. They could go out and purchase a small bottle for almost no cost and give it a try as a thank you to Show Fresh H2O for hanging in there. We do appreciate the fact that they allow us to pay Clifton each and every week, and this podcast continues. So if you enjoy listening to the podcast, please show your patronage to Show Fresh H2O. Show Fresh H2O can be found at your local farm store, show supply trailer, or at swampfox.com. And thank you for your continued support. You did get that. You remember that part.
I got that part. Yeah.
And you understand hydration. You understand how important it is, correct?
I tried. I just don't think I was very good at it. I'm just saying.
Got it. Well, the main topic today. Are you ready?
Yeah.
You did give me the title for that one. Why don't you give us it? Integrity. Define integrity. You've given it to me 3 or 4 times.
Yeah,
I just failed to write it down. And we have to maybe qualify. Obviously, integrity can be taken into many aspects of our life, but what specific direction are we taking this one?
This is kind of like a 2-part series, and so this week and next week, but in the define integrity portion of it, I think that we're just going to focus on like people that step into the ring and sort shows. They call them judges. And so talking about judge integrity, and then maybe also just a little bit on, and I think there's something to be said for this, and we'll go in this later, is like the people that make those decisions on who they pick to judge. I think there's got to be some integrity in those people, and also making sure that when they pick them, that they pick the people that not only actually define integrity, but they put them in a situation where it is the most possible for them to uphold their integrity, if you understand what I'm saying.
I think that's a critical part that we have to remember to break down. Absolutely. And maybe just real quickly, so I don't forget it, I'm capable of forgetting things. In many situations, and as we talk about this and who's judging shows or sorting shows across the country, those that are in the trenches, whether they're breeders, brokers, enthusiasts, past show livestock exhibitors, whatever it may be, those that are kind of in the trenches and have done it for a long time or doing it on a daily basis are oftentimes those that are qualified. The downside to this becomes those that are in the trenches and actively doing so. Use myself as an example. I'm breeding goats, I'm breeding cattle. If I'm out there sorting goats or sorting cattle that I have, animals that I've sold or out of my genetics, I can go out there and I would like to tell you that I can sort them with an open mind. Obviously, those genetics are maybe more the type I like, if that's the genetic line that I'm utilizing. But at the same time, no matter how much you try, subconsciously, if that's affecting your livelihood and that's tied to your finances, it is very, very difficult to go out there and block all of that out. And in our industry, and I'm just going to say it, there's situations that when people are not financially sound or it's tight, making ends meet each and every day, honest people will do bad things when put back into a quarter to support their family. How's that?
I'm not disagreeing, but
that concerns me sometimes. And people will do bad things just because it's going to financially benefit them, not always just because they're on the ropes, but it does happen. But lead us down that path, and I will be happy to get probably more.
Like a lot of times, and people probably don't realize this part, but at least for me, I always, when I think about topics, I am very conscientious of timeliness. And so, like, when you put this out there, define integrity, and talking about judges and stuff like that, like I'm very conscious about timeliness, because right now is a good time to do this, because we're gearing up for state fairs and junior nationals and the national swine shows and all of that stuff, and we're kind of past all the big spring major shows. And so, like, because I don't want anyone to ever think that this is about this person in general, because it's not. It's about the industry and judges as a whole. So I thought this was a nice time, since Dale didn't die in Africa, and a good place to do this, because I don't know if people realize that, but at least I always tell Dale, I think this is a very good time to do this because of this. And so that is something that I reflect on and put into when we do topics like this. But in general, I think that we all have a basic assumption that for the most part, everyone that we're going to show to, regardless at whatever level, has integrity. Like that's a basic belief that everybody wants to have. And I'm just going to say it from the very beginning, that would be a false assumption.
I would say, I think it's as false of assumption as you can make at the moment. And I think if you, and here's maybe my naive portion coming out when I was younger, or it may be real, and I would like your opinion, Ryan, if we turn back time 10, 15 years, whatever amount of time back to your memories when showing, do you think there was more integrity then or now in most of the judges going through the ring?
So I've thought a lot about this. And I think 10, 15 years ago, that assumption was even higher and more believed then than now. And I don't know if that was true or we just believed that more. And
I am exactly the same. I'm with you. Maybe it's just with social media, communication abilities. Maybe it's brought to the surface more now, the issues, where before it was easier to glaze over.
Right. I mean, I think there was a certain time, and again, not too far long ago, that not only was that the basic belief, but everybody believed that everybody that stepped in the ring had integrity and all this other stuff. And now, obviously, social media, all the stuff, you can draw more inclusions and inferences and stuff like that to know that maybe this isn't as much on the up and up. But I knew you were going to ask that. We didn't talk about it, but I just knew you would ask that. And I am being very, very honest that I don't know if it was ever like everybody that was out there had integrity, or we just didn't see it as much. But I can say this. I do think that because of probably even most people in the stock show population have come across a situation where integrity wasn't part of the picture at a show. I think now it is easier for judges to say, you know what? Oh, it's not that big a deal. Like, I can do this and whatever because, other people are doing it, etc. And that kind of mind frame has got to stop. It's just got to.
I think that's exactly right. I think they're emboldened that they're not as concerned about getting called out. They feel like it's just normal.
Right. Like it's just it's just accepted. And no, that's not it. And I say this a lot. And a lady at the show this weekend told me, she says, why? She asked me, she said, why do you say that at every show? And I don't know if I do it at every show, but I do it a lot. I'm sure I said it on the podcast a lot. But like, judging is an opinion. It doesn't make it right or wrong on that day. It makes it official. And so when we are led to this point that I think it is more accepted or more expected that the judge doesn't have to have ultimate integrity because it is just an opinion, the whole system fails. Everything, all of it goes to shit because the only thing keeping that person's opinion honest is the basic assumption and belief that no matter who goes out there and exhibits to that man or woman, they're going to have integrity and sort the animals based on what they believe, how they should be placed, not because of who is leading, who is following it in, who bred it, who sent a Snapchat of it, etc., but because of the animal's attributes and traits. And I think people forget how important that is. And we've got, and this may all fall on deaf ears, but it's got to be stressed more.
Absolutely. Without that, as you put it, it all falls apart. And
the whole premise of livestock shows falls apart.
Yes.
All of it.
And I think, I'm not saying we're going to fall apart tomorrow, but I'm telling you, if this doesn't come back into check, it's going to have a much larger impact than anybody out there realizes, in my opinion.
No, I think it does have a large impact already, and I think it's only going to continue to grow because, like I said, I think now that there is a little bit of, oh, it's okay. Everybody does a little bit of this, whatever. And so we're completely going the wrong way on the derailment of it all. But I guess in terms of the name of the topic, define integrity, what is that? And I guess for me, it is that no matter what, and I can just use me as an example. I'm fixing to do the Junior National Goat Show, or I don't even know the official name, but anyway, it's the equivalent of the Junior National Goat Show, excuse me, in Louisville. Dale is not going to let Katie show to me. And that's his decision. And they made that decision as a family. I guess using an example is if Katie came into the ring to me, putting that animal exactly where I thought it should be, whether it would be grand champion, second, third, wherever, because of my personal family attachment with everything Hummel, my interaction with Dale on a day-to-day basis. That is what defining integrity is to me personally. And I told him I'm more than capable of doing it. Am I grateful that he's not going to? Yeah, I am. But I also know that I could absolutely do it. And it would not be a problem for me. But it is that situation right there. And there are very few people in the stock show world that I can think of two probably that people might question. One would be you. The other one would be Poe's. And the Poe family had multiple Herefords on feed this year, and yet they didn't show to me at Odessa because they felt the same way as you. They didn't want me put in that situation, not because I don't think you or them thought I couldn't judge their animal fairly, but they didn't want what other people would say or think or say to come into that equation. But that right there, whether it is a personal friendship, an extended family situation, a business partner, or all of those things, when that person or that animal comes into the ring and you know that you can put that animal exactly where it belongs and stand by it and be proud and not worry about any repercussions or anything like that, that to me is integrity.
I agree. And just for clarification, and you and I have had this discussion, that exactly what you said there, I am not even a little concerned about where you would place our animals, or I mean, can speak for Poe. They're going to land where you believe them to land, good or bad. And that certainly isn't the reason. I would have no issue having Katie show to you, knowing exactly what you're talking about. But it's just the perception thing that is not, everybody's not going to share that same belief or thought. And I understand why. I get it. If you look at the bigger picture, in general, those things are happening at a level that I haven't seen before. And part of the reason for this topic is to peel back the covers a little bit and shed light on some of this. You can be involved in this industry. You can be in a situation like Ryan is, to me, very, very unusual, where he's shown nearly every species. This is his life each and every single day. I'm not going to say that Ryan does not need to earn money when he judges a show, but that does not affect what he's getting paid to judge a show, does not affect his livelihood in any manner for the most part. So there's not that I've got to sell these animals, I've got to broker these animals, all of those things. You're in a very unique situation that
I'm an anomaly.
What you do in that show is not going to impact your livelihood in any manner. And there's not many situations that people are knowledgeable enough and qualified to sort of show that can say that. Even myself. And I think we're doing fine. We're not starving. Everything's fine. When I walk into the ring to sort that show, there is going to be some impact. And I would sure hope, and I'd like to believe that I can do the same thing. I can sort those. And even if one comes in with our ear tag, or I recognize that showman or that animal, still put them where I believe they go. And to take it even a step further, I'm oftentimes asked this, I'm probably a little negative that if that one should maybe go second in class and the one in third is remotely close, the one that I may have an affiliation with is going to go third. And I don't hide it. And I've been asked after the show, what was your justification? And that's it. It shouldn't probably be that way, but it's a matter of perception. I want to make sure that nobody believes they're getting a favor because of that connection. And we go back to that, to defining integrity. There is no way to avoid people stepping in the ring that don't have some connection in some manner. But those hiring people to judge these shows can't be expected to know everything. Reach out, try to find people that are active in that business, and just run it past them. Hey, is this going to be okay? They're in the industry, but can they separate that out and do a fair job? And there are people out there that can. I wish there were more than what it appears to be, and I wish people would think a little bit more in terms of who they're hiring, because if you sit back and just pay attention how that particular, let's say a person's judging whatever show and you're at a sale of that species, or you're wherever, or maybe who they're in a partnership with, whether it's a silent partnership that maybe everybody doesn't understand, or where their income is being generated. Is it tied to that particular person that's sending a whole bunch of them to that show? There's a lot of different avenues, and those that open their eyes and connect the dots are going to call bullshit sometimes. And I wish it wasn't that way. But we are in a situation, not just goats, I'm talking across species, that it is what it is. And it's not healthy for the industry. We have to continue to look out for the long-term benefits. And when we get into all of this, we sometimes forget the reason we're doing this. And as a parent, it is absolutely and 100% creating better human beings and preparing our children for life as an adult.
No.
And sometimes we lose track of it so fast. It's sad.
Very valid points there. And I guess talking about this topic or whatever, I always find it interesting that, we focus or when this subject comes up, and it doesn't come up enough in my personal opinion, but when it does come up, we always look to the things of, oh, well, person X judging the show buys bulls or flocks of sheep or whatever. There's a business, there's a monetary side to it that comes out a whole lot, or more often than things. And I think that we've touched on here multiple times that whether people want to admit it or not, and they do not admit it enough, your subconscious comes into play when you are sorting animals, things that you don't even realize unless you make an active effort to think about it. It's there, and the subconscious weighs in way more than anybody truly wants to admit. I don't understand why they don't want to admit it, but it is. And so those things there, like you said, whether it's a partner or someone who you generate income for your family from, all that stuff is there. And that is what we focus on. I also think that there is a whole nother side to this topic that doesn't get focused in on enough, because there is no monetary thing to it. But I think just as strong is you have friendships, you have people that you like, that you've been around, hung around. Maybe you grew up showing with them. There's different things, and then there are people that you just don't like. That I am just going to be as honest as I can be. There have been people show to me, not their children show to me, that I can't say the things on this podcast that I would say about their parents because it's not good. And
occasionally you will say them to me in private, though.
And those things happen. It both the love and the hate of it all. And you have to be able to put all of that aside and still say, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to use the animal that I think is the best. And I don't think anybody really focuses in on that. And they damn sure don't focus on the part on the people don't get along and whatever, all that other stuff, because they think that just self-corrects and that people won't show to people that don't like each other. That's wrong. They do. I'm telling you, it happens to me way more than I think it should. But that part of it, I don't think we ever touch on that, because then the reason we don't, because maybe everybody has not been in the position of showing to somebody where actual physical dollars or monetary value has been exchanged, but almost everybody's shown to somebody that they're friends with. So we don't want to talk about that because that's taboo, because, oh my God, that might implement me. And it's part of it. And I think there are big errors in integrity both ways, but because we don't ever focus on this other part, because like I said, everybody has shown to somebody they consider to be their friend. Why don't we talk about that? And I am telling you, I have lost so many people. And I'm talking about people that helped raise me, all this other stuff, that no longer will speak to me or I don't have any interaction with anymore and all this other stuff, simply because I put their animal where I thought it should be. And there's a lot of people are going to say it's not worth that. It's just not. It's just easier to keep that person pacified. Maybe they don't win, but maybe they don't get put exactly where they need to be because they still want that person to like them. I am a firm believer that if you can't understand that when you step into that ring, if you are there for wanting someone to still like you or still be friends with or still be business partner with, then you're screwed from the very beginning.
I think that's exactly what we need to point out, Ryan. I'm going to use you as an example again. I would love to send one in the ring with my daughter showing at the ABJ Junior National to you. You want to know why I would love to do it? You're easy to hit. It's just, if anybody pays any attention, you can do that. We have shown under you at smaller jackpot shows. I've had clients that have shown under you. I've had animals at shows when you were judging and have paid attention to what you're doing out in the ring. And for the most part, and I think it comes down to this, when we're talking about this friendship, I know you well enough. I could step out there and pretty much place that class for you and not be too far off. Occasionally, I can think of one time that you shocked me a little, and if I'd have thought about it, it would not have been a shock, where we had a pretty damn good one that was just a little bit ugly-headed, and you beat the hell out of him for being ugly-headed. But you know what? That doesn't surprise me in hindsight. I did not look at the head. But you would think that if you are friends or paid attention to what they're doing, respect the fact that you have a pretty good idea on what type and kind they're using. And if you understand that and that person is sorting consistently, it should be very simple, should it not?
Right. And I think that is a very valid point, because I strive to be consistent. And I don't want to say I strive to be consistent. It's just very easy for me to be consistent because I know exactly what I like and I know my priorities. And it just happens. And so, yes, time and time again, people said, it's really easy to figure out what to show to you. And so, yeah, that part is there. And anybody that is a friend of another person, especially in this industry, you will have had in-depth talks about what you love, like, appreciate, don't like in terms of livestock. So it should be easier to hit the friends type and kind. And that is part of it. And I think that's why maybe that's more accepted, because go out there, oh, well, they're best friends. Of course, he's going to know what to bring to him, yada, 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 all that other stuff. And I'm okay with, like, if that's really what happens. But there's a lot of time that doesn't happen. And that person just gets an edge or an advantage because of, just like what I said, if you are not 100% okay with everybody leaving that show not liking you, then you got a problem. Because I used to say that you only make one person happy at the end of the day in shows. That's whoever wins grand overall. I can tell you from personal opinion that I have judged a couple of shows too, where the person that won was not happy because they wanted a different animal to win. So now I say you can't even make one person happy. But
no, this is true. And Ryan, I can use another example. I'll get a phone call from one of our families that has purchased our genetics, and they say, hey, my son or daughter wants to go to show to Ryan next weekend. Do you think this is a good idea? And I think about the animal they purchased, or they send me a video, and I can tell them probably not the best idea from the standpoint that is not his kind. Or maybe I say, yeah, that is dead on. That is exactly what I'd take him. Some are going to go anyway because that son or daughter just wants to show to you, which confuses me, very much confuses me, but it does happen. But it's very simple. And I hope I'm stating the truth, Ryan. And you've judged animals that we've sold or out of our genetics, second, third generation away, whatever. Sometimes you like them, sometimes you don't. But I don't think, other than giving you shit about an ugly-headed one time, that I've ever come out and said, "Hey, you really missed the ball on this one."
Mm-mm.
And it just isn't. You just accept it and you move on. And I don't. If others could accept that. If they have a true friendship and a respect for each other, that should just be automatic. And for some reason, it's not.
Right. It should be. It should be that if you're taking the chance to go show to your best friend or whatever, and whatever happens, you're still going to be friends with afterwards. Yes, that should be part of it, but it is not. And I'm telling you, I can give you countless examples of how it's not. And so, but just what you're saying, I think the funniest thing about me and Dale is I will get done with the goat show and I'll be like, you had one that won this class or won this division or was reserve overall or whatever. You had 130. And you're like, he's like, no, I didn't. I was like, yes, you did. He's like, how? Because I know that's your goat.
Yeah, and oftentimes, obviously,
and you don't even know the goat is there. And I'm like,
No.
yeah, it was there. Trust me. But yeah, so now you're exactly right. Other than the bad-headed one, that's the only time you've ever given me shit or said anything. But I truly think it's funny because more times than not, I will tell you after a show the goats you had in the show, and you don't know most of them are there. That part.
This will be very, very accurate. And not that I don't pay attention to where you're at, but sometimes I do get a little distracted, and maybe that distraction keeps me from understanding that you're judging show A, B, and C this weekend. But no, it just is what it is. And if you mention that, hey, I had one at that show, sometimes I'll ask, well, what do you think? Do I need to feed him harder? How's he doing? Absolutely. It's very rarely or never, man, why didn't you use that one to win?
Right.
And I'm going to say that I get beat under you more than I win, unfortunately. We could change that if you would work on it, but it just is. The other side of it, if people ask, and it's not just me, I don't know whether it's goats or hogs or whatever it may be. If they research you or listen to this podcast, you have a pretty good idea what to take to you. And I'm not saying that's the right kind, the wrong kind. It doesn't even matter. It just, here's what it is. And you just do it. And that part should be simple for everybody.
I just think that those are kind of the two things in terms of judge integrity to me. Are you absolutely going to be okay with losing a friendship or having someone be upset, angry, sometimes hostile at you because you sorted the animals the way that you actually believe they are? And number two, are you able to set down any monetary, financial situations type things, put that out of the back of your mind and go, you know what? I know they've spent X number of dollars with me, but in this class, they need to be third. And when you can do that and do that a large majority or what should be every single time, then that's what I think is true judge integrity. And I just don't know how many shining examples on the hill we have of that these days. I guess
I would agree completely.
Was the point of bringing up this topic. But and maybe I'm missing something, Dale, but I think that's kind of the two tests of a judge's integrity. Would you not agree?
I would agree. And I hope people are paying attention to it.
And the other side, or for me, is, and this is going to come out wrong, and I'm willing for it to come out wrong. It used to be very simple and very easy to know who made the hiring decisions at almost every single show. If you were at your state fair, at the national shows, all this other stuff, it was very simple. Homeboy picks the judges for state fair, and you would give Homeboy's name or whatever, all this other stuff. Same thing for the national shows, or all this other stuff. Now, I don't, and I think this is by design, to be real honest, and that's the part that's not going to come out well. I don't think that we can pinpoint that person or the trail of how it gets done. But the majority of these things, maybe they're given a list, maybe they're given options, but one person says, this is the person that is going to judge the, state fair market hog show. This person is going to judge this national major show for this species. I think it's by design that we don't know who that is anymore, because I don't think they want people to know who that is. And those people have to have integrity too. And also, just as they can't be influenced by their college roommate that wants their other buddy to judge the show because it might help them out. You can't be influenced by that. You have to sit there, and whether, let's just use the state fair example. Maybe you're given a list of 5 names from the hog show committee of these are the 5 that we think should judge the state fair. Because we all have friends and we all have people that we talk about. You can't be influenced by whether you like that person. You can't be influenced whether you love that person. You have to set all that aside and say, who in this situation right here of these 5 is the best person to go out there and come the closest to not only doing a great job, but also I'm putting them in a situation where they can succeed and have the best shot at maintaining their integrity. And I don't think any of them think about that. Not at all. Not once. I don't think it goes through their mind. And that's just, I'm just being honest.
No, I agree. You're there. Ryan, what about, maybe this applies to younger judges a little bit more than more established ones. What about the situation when that judge is in the arena and their goal is to judge more and more shows? And unfortunately, rather than sorting them, describing them accurately, using integrity and getting it all right, they're under pressure from that broker or a breeder or whoever it may be in the back of their mind, thinking if I don't use that one, I'm not going to get promoted to the next show or maybe blocked from doing that next show. Does that make sense? In other words, use the animals that you think might get you to the next level. Maybe the animals that have been winning, even though that's not your kind. Doing shit in the ring from the standpoint that I want to go on and judge the next show. So let's try to line them up in that manner. And that gets people in so much trouble. They get confused. They're out there staring at these animals for 20 minutes, looking at two animals, trying to figure out what
because
what
they're
to
trying
do
to figure out what to say to make it work. And it doesn't.
It is never about, they see the differences in the animals, period. It's right in front of them. They see it. If they're taking that much time, there's something else going on in their mind. It's not, is this one okay in his knee or is this one thick enough? That's already done. It's how am I going to talk about these? What's behind the scenes? And that's just the truth.
No, it is truth. And I'm going to use my personal experiences as an example. And I can't tell you, even just recently, but I can't tell you the number of times, and I'm not trying to single out one single species because it happens in them all, but I can't tell you the number of times that someone has told me before I judged a big hog show, whether it was a big jackpot show or a state fair or something like that. Well, if you really, I know that they'll say to me, you always say that you love judging hogs the most, which I do. Now, if you really want to judge more of these state fairs or you want one of those big deals, you're going to have to just be nice to XYZ. I'm telling you, that happens right now to me. So if that happens to me, that has this platform that says how that shit doesn't fly under me, countless times they can see whatever. If that kind of stuff still happens to me, well, if you want to take your hog judging to the next level, this is what you need to do. Imagine what happens to everybody else
that doesn't have a platform and isn't clear about what they're doing.
Right. I mean, seriously, if they think they can still use those tactics on me, imagine what happens to other people. I'm laughing about it, but I'm being very, very honest. I can't even think because I know how many times it happens to me. I know it happens recently. I can't imagine a kid right off of college judging team, how much pressure or how many ways they try to make those kids bend and break because it happens. And so, yeah.
And if you don't think it's happening, you're living in a hole somewhere.
Literally. Because I'm telling you, it happens to me right now, currently. Shit like that will go down. And I'm I have a platform each week that we talk about situations like this. I have proven myself tried and true in the ring more times than most that this stuff doesn't work under me. So if they think they can still get to me that way in promising, oh, well, if you use so-and-so, then you'll get to do this hog show or that sheep show or this cattle show or all this other stuff. If they still pull that bullshit with me, I can't even fathom how bad it is for other people. And I think that is a thing because you want so bad, and this goes back into everything. Not only do you want to judge more shows, but you want to judge the next level of show. When you want that first big break that throws you into the rotation that seems like if you get in that rotation, you stay there forever. And I want it. I'm being honest. I want it. But I'm not going to sacrifice my reputation or my integrity for it. And so if I don't get it, that's fine. But not only do you want that and you want to sort the bigger, the better, the next level show, you want to be liked. And I think that's the biggest problem is people really, I know Dale knows this and I know a lot of people know this that know me on a personal level. I don't care if I'm liked. I really don't. I want to be respected. And I think if we would all change that simple thing right there, people that are going to sort shows, I want to be respected. I don't care if I'm liked. It changes your whole mindset. And I'm telling you, it's like a switch.
100% on that. And you touched on something that I wanted to bring up, and I know we're going to get a little bit long here. The snowball effect.
That's okay. The other ones have been very, very short because I've just been talking to myself and the voices in my head didn't cooperate the last 2 weeks. So it's fine.
Okay. So the snowball effect we talk about. If a person is hired to do a Texas major, a person is hired to do a national show at that level, it is very common, irregardless whether they do a great job or it's a complete and total train wreck. There is another
Unless
show.
you take out a gun and shoot an exhibitor.
And I don't even.
Once
I
you
don't
get
even
that break, you're in.
I don't even think that'll do it. The problem with this is
Probably not.
and sometimes it's well justified. Sometimes somebody will jump up onto that national stage and hit a home run, and they need to go do all of them. I've seen others that it has been just short of taking a gun out and shooting an exhibitor in terms of a train wreck, and yet it continued. When that happens, and I understand when we have those in charge of selecting judges, if such and such judge the Louisville Weather Lamb show, that's a pretty safe bet. Let's let them come judge our state fair because they've done one at that level. I understand that. But when you're doing it off of that basis and not doing any research on are there dots that we need to connect, did they describe the livestock, all the things that we talk about on a regular basis, Ryan, I'm afraid that snowball effect does not help out the integrity because you alluded to it earlier. Because others are doing it, you can get away with it. And because of the snowball effect, I can go out there and judge such and such show, use my buddies, use my genetics, use whatever that some may have predicted even prior to the show was going to happen. And yet I'm still going to do the next one because of the snowball effect. I don't think it's a good thing, I guess is what I'm getting at. It opens the door and allows the crap to happen.
And that's it. Once you get that deal, like I said, I think it takes pulling out a gun, shooting an exhibitor to get you out of it. And so you're going to get the next one. And so every single time, it's easier for your integrity to diminish because you know that you're going to get it again. And that is it. That is in a nutshell right there. And I think that it relies heavily on the two sets of people that we've talked about here. I wish greatly and sincerely that everyone that stepped in to sort of show, and I also don't want people to think that I think every judge in America doesn't have any integrity. That's not it at all. But I think the ones that are diminished in that capacity, I think they overshadowed the rest of them, and that's why we're talking about this. But I wish every single judge that stepped in Judge Show would do just like it talked about, go out there and do it regardless of the repercussions of friendships or financial, whatever, and do it. But when you have examples in front of you that there are people that get to judge whatever shows they want to, that don't live up to that shining example on the hill of ultimate integrity, then why should the rest of us?
I think that's a very valid point. I think that's where we're at. I wish we were wrong.
Right. And then the other part is it, and I think these people bear as much a burden as anybody. Those who select them, not only do you have to believe with everything in you that person is going to do the job with great integrity, I think you also need to make decisions on, am I putting this person in a position where they can have the best chance to show their integrity? Because there are some situations where it is harder than others. And that is just facts. Absolutely just facts. And I'm going to say it again. Nobody that's making those hiring decisions think about that part, in my personal opinion.
I can't say nobody, but it's not as often as we could. And I think sometimes there are people in those positions that may not understand the industry that well. Maybe they're giving everybody the benefit of the doubt and assuming the integrity is there and they're a good person. I think the fact that they were a given judge is hired to judge a national level show, all of a sudden the others think, well, the integrity must be there. Let's hire that one. And sometimes that is a very false impression. So I encourage them to think for themselves and do some research and do the best you can. It's never going to be perfect, but let's do the best we can.
I think that's and maybe I shouldn't say never. I said, and I apologize for that, but I think the thought process of, if I put this person judging the show in this situation, does that give them the best chance to do a totally integrable job out there? I don't think that's thought of a lot, Dale, because of just what you said. The assumption is, and this is how we started out this whole topic, the assumption is, number one, for the most part, all judges have integrity. If you get that break to the state fair, national, especially national level, then it definitely is there on the assumption of, oh, well, of course, this person has the utmost integrity. And sometimes that assumption is not right. But also, there are sometimes that judges are put in a situation where it is just much more difficult for them to go out there and do the job even they want to do.
Agreed. And
because
they don't always have to accept that show.
Yes, I agree that they don't always have to accept it, but we have had a topic on this, and they never. I'm gonna curse, and I'm not going to. No, they don't ever say no. They don't. They don't, even when they should. Agreed.
We are long. Do you have more, or would you like to go into question and answer? Do you have a sponsor?
No. I mean, that's just the some. Anyway, I
this is good. I'm sure
I could talk on this topic forever, but
I'm sure we're going to offend people on this one. I'm sure we're going to have others cheering about it, and not trying to point out anybody or any specific thing. We're just trying to do what we believe is healthy for the industry, and try to remind people that we're back to raising better humans, and let's keep that in mind. And I think integrity ties into that as strongly as anything.
Right. And like I said, this is kind of a 2-part series or whatever. And next week it will be crossing the line, and we'll talk about where the line is crossed on all aspects of things. And so, again, very interesting topic that we talked about. Dale's right that we're not calling any individual out. And I think this was why this was a good time to have this topic, because we're kind of at a point, like, there hasn't been any giant, huge show just happen right now, and there one's in the future. But so there it is. Send me the hate mail all you want. I don't care.
Yeah, send it to Ryan. I don't need. I get enough. I don't need any more.
Right. Question and answer sponsor. We are very thankful to Leonard Truck and Trailers for being the question and answer sponsor for this week. For over 60 years, Leonard Trucks and Trailers have been the trusted trailer expert for hauling champions to victory. For journeys that go beyond the ring, Leonard Truck and Trailer offers the largest selection of every type of trailer by 40 manufacturers, including low pro show stock trailers and living quarter stock trailers. The trailers are designed for excellence and comfort, so you arrive in style when ready to compete. Haul with confidence wherever the road takes you, featuring a nationwide concierge service and warranty administration. Leonard Truck and Trailers offer industry-leading financing, nationwide delivery, trade-ins are welcome, plus they can create and install a custom vinyl graphics for your trailer and a full line of apparel and hats to promote your farm and ranch. Thank you to Clint and Tiffany Leonard and the boys for being the question and answer, and a huge BTRJLA sponsor for the past 3 years.
Thank you. Greatly appreciated. The first question comes from Anne. It would be great if you all could expand more on purebred divisions where they're allowing classification, not papers. Why are shows doing this? How do we get crossbreds out of the purebred divisions, especially in hogs? I'm not. It's a little. I guess. How are you taking that question, Ryan? It would be great if you could all expand more.
Does that go back to the classification topic
I think it does.
that we had?
Allowing class. I think what she's saying is we shouldn't allow classifications. They should have to have papers. Is how I interpret.
You can cheat easier on papers than classifying.
That is where I was.
I mean, if I got to pick one, anybody can put a set of papers on an animal. I'm just saying. But
if they're willing to DNA, if they're willing to DNA test back to the parents and so forth, it becomes more difficult. But that it just is.
Well, yeah. But the whole thing is this kind of the deal. Like whatever she's talking about, classifying versus papers. Either way, you can kind of manipulate whatever. I mean, I'm not going to go in and give the examples, even with DNA, on how you can manipulate shit. Dead moms, dads, whatever. I'm not going to go into all these things. But she's asking me, I think classification is a more honest way than probably just relying on papers, especially if you're just going to go with, this animal has a set of papers, so it is a purebred. If they're willing to DNA, that puts another thing into it, pull the hair, check it, all that other stuff. Shows don't do that. And I think that was the whole purpose of the classification topic is there are new and advanced ways that maybe we should look towards them in the future for this type of reason. So there you go.
Nope, I agree completely. I don't know that there is a perfect system, but it's fairly clearly defined that for the most part in the South, we're classifying. For the most part in the North, we're using papers to determine whether or not that animal can be shown in a particular breed. And I think where those rules are, breeders are breeding for such, brokers are buying and reselling for such, families are buying with that in mind. So know the rules, know to the game that you're playing and where you're going with that animal prior to jumping in. I don't think, Ryan, there's anybody down in your part of the world that is going to pretend that their Berkshire or their Yorkshire is absolutely 100% that breed.
No.
It just isn't. And then I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just the reality of it.
Yeah, no. We don't.
The next question, Ryan, you're going to like this one because it was addressed to me, and I'm not sure how I pulled this one up.
Yeah.
Dale, where do you recommend drawing the line on unproductive club-type goats when breeding? As a small breeder with a dozen does, I've ended up using a Boar Myotonic cross does and AI for weather-type kids. This came about after a decade of struggling with unproductive club-type goats. It seems the better they show, the less ability they have to conceive, gestate, deliver, and raise kids. I would think it was just me, but I also raise dairy goats, and a lot of my culls are sold as recip does to club goat farms. In other words, I think she is stating that we have to flush and use recips because the type of goats we're selecting in the ring can't raise kids. I'm going to be the first one to not go down the path and try to say that right now the does and bucks that are raising national champion level whether goats are the most productive in any manner. And I think we can take this across species right now, across species.
Yeah, that was what I was going to interject at the end, is that this isn't just goats. It's a cross.
Old is good. Growth isn't necessarily as good a thing as it once was, maybe even a negative. So, Christy, there are a lot of things, and I'm a hypocrite. Ryan brings it out all the time. On our cattle side, I want them as functional, as low maintenance, as real world as we can make them, and still good enough looking for the show ring. On the goat side, if I selected for more productive goats, better mothers, better everything, from the time we bought out the Kelly goat herd in Texas, I can admit we did not select for teats, and it was a complete train wreck, what we brought in. By dumb luck, over time, our teats have gotten considerably better and the udders have gotten better. And it wasn't because we selected it. It was dumb luck is all it was. But in general, the way Mother Nature wants a goat to look and those that will raise kids and gestate and conceive, we're going against the grain on everything we're selecting for. So this should be no surprise when you look at it in that context, that what we want in the show ring is the opposite of what a goat does in natural selection or Mother Nature's way. So we're at opposite ends, Christy. It is what it is. We're going to say the show ring's a separate industry and we run with it, as Ryan talks about all the time. I just haven't allowed myself to do that in the cattle side of things. In the goat side, no question. How do we deal with it? 90% of our kids that are born or more are from embryo transfer. So it's recips that are laying down and being the mothers. When those donors no longer flush for us, we put them into a natural kitting, and shockingly, some of them do a great job. Others are a train wreck. I think it would be across the board in the goat side, and I think even the other species as well. So it's that disconnect where we're throwing bullets. We're trying to create an animal type and kind right now that may not be inducive to productivity. And we've argued about this. I probably stay on the more productive side, more real world side more than most. And it's a very difficult argument because the majority are on the other side of the fence. And I have no intention of pretending that we're raising goats that would work out in the commercial world, because it would be a train wreck. The cattle side, absolutely. Ryan, help me out here.
I think that her question is valid, but just like I said, I think it goes across all species. And I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but I can tell you, you can just go on, you can talk to anybody that shows, or you can look at stuff on social media and all this other stuff. Not every great show animal is a great breeding animal. And it just part of it. And that should not be that way, but it is. And so that's why when we go to this real world versus all this other stuff, this part of it just makes me more convinced that I am right and Dale is wrong, because there is no correlation. Very few times is the heifer that wins all the shows does she turn out to be a great donor cow or raise the very next great show heifer, not even on the first calf, but ever. And so it just is what it is. And so it's across species. But I mean, I don't know. There is no fix for it, and I don't know what the line is, but I hate to admit when I'm right, but I'm right.
I think, Christy, that when it gets to the point where and it gets pretty bad, where irregardless of the species, when we have sows laying down that we barely get one or two pigs out of, that maybe they do or do not even raise them, when it becomes a point that even with the premium that we're getting as show stock, that you can't justify the cost and keeping them around and the space they're taking up, then all of a sudden that tide changes a little. But that's got to be pretty extreme before a show livestock producer says, well, I'm going to sacrifice selling that high dollar animal because I want this one to be a little more productive. They just aren't going to do it. Financially speaking, it's not in the picture. Not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong, just is what it is. Next question comes from Kevin. Ryan and Dale, as a seller, how do you go about pricing sale animals private treaty? You're better
That's
for
simple.
that than
you
me.
Just price them. You just price them at what you want to price them at. It's simple. I don't give Dale many attaboy awards on the podcast, but I do think that for those of you that don't know it, all of Dale's sales are online, and he sells 100% of the market weathers, and it's just supply and demand there, and that's what it is. The private treaty thing, I hate online sales. I have told everyone here multiple times I hate online sales. I do not have a buyer's number. with any online sale, and I have never purchased one online, and I probably won't ever because I don't do it anymore. I'm not saying never, but I haven't, because when I see an animal, and if I want to buy it, I want to buy it then. Like, give me the price. What is it? And I will either say, that's too much, let's come down, or here's the check, or yeah, you're crazy and I'm leaving. But I think private treaty gets a bad rap, and like, just a segue into next week on crossing the line, when I was describing Dale these topics, like, is it okay for someone that bought an animal for $5,000 to then resell it to somebody else for $55,000? You know, that's the kind of stuff that we're going into next week. But the private treaty thing, you get to set the price, because I think why I am a fan of it is, especially in terms of breeding animals, maybe everybody wants to be able to say, well, everything that we have is for sale. And in the breeding terms of it, maybe you really don't want to sell that one gilt or that one doe or that one heifer, because you want to keep that one back for either breeding purposes or your own kid or whatever this. But everybody that does this wants to say everything is for sale. So you can attach an extremely high dollar amount to that animal and still say it's for sale, knowing the likelihood that nobody's going to buy it. And I think that's perfectly okay. I would much rather deal with private treaty. I just don't know, like, in terms of the question here, how do you go about setting the price? What is it? What is that animal truly worth to you? I mean, not only I think that you should go about thinking about it, especially if you're a seller, what would you pay for that animal? And that's probably a good guide. You see the animal, you know its qualities, its attributes, its flaws. If the shoe was on the other foot, what would you pay for that animal? I think that's probably the best way to guide you on setting price.
I think so. And you'll hear some that'll say, well, when it's private treaty, they're pricing them way too high. Well, guess what? You're not forced to buy them. You don't have to pay that. You can walk away.
Exactly.
So I'm one that says, careful throwing darts at somebody because they're asking a certain amount. Well, they can ask whatever they want. They're not making you spend that. I feel more comfortable letting the auction system determine the price in terms of supply and demand. And that way I'm not pricing them what I consider too high if it's privately, or too low. And more times than not, I probably would price them, if I was selling private treaty, lower, because I mean, some of these prices, they're
yeah, you need to stick with what you're doing. Trust me, for you, you need to stick the way you are.
It just would be hard for me to say I want this dollar number for this little bitty goat, and I calculate out the price per pound, and it's crazy high. And at the same time, it may be very reasonable compared to where the market is. So, Kevin, that one's hard. It's hard for me, much easier for Ryan. But I think you simply put them at the value that you feel comfortable, that hopefully you're able to continue doing what you're doing. If you sell them at that level and you're keeping buyers happy, they feel like they're getting a good value and they'll come back again and again. So that is interesting. And I Kevin, I fight with this question because we're just starting our Southern sales season. Today's our actual first sale for our springborn kids. And I've had probably in the last month dozens of texts or calls like, what do the kids look like? Can I come up and buy one private and haul it back? And I understand the convenience. You're here already. You have a popper on. It'd be a lot easier than trying to find a ride later. There's a lot of things that come into play, and we do hold pretty steady that we're going to put those weathers online and give everybody the exact same opportunity. Could I generate more dollars selling some of them private? Maybe not. It's a battle, Kevin, that I go through daily, and I probably put more thought into it and let it get to me more than I should, and just continue to do what we do. And that's the plan. But I understand those that want to buy private treaty. maybe it isn't as much about a pricing issue, but all of a sudden, if I price one of our best ones to somebody and I didn't allow those families that have been good to us for years that same opportunity, that bothers me. So it would have to be a situation that we're opening the doors at 8 a.m. Here's their private treaty prices, first come, first serve. But it just logistically, it would be difficult in our situation. So all of ours are on online sales. I just pulled the sale up to make sure it's functioning. It looks like everything is up and running and going, and hopefully life is good for the sales season. Ryan, I don't know. I don't have my clock on this one, but I think we managed to go a bit long.
Yeah, well,
it's okay.
You've been
out of Africa. We're healthy. We're good. Thank you for all of those that have checked in. Just making sure I was okay. I have not listened to what Ryan may or may not have said. So
very, very disappointed in the lions and the rhinos of Africa. Very disappointed.
I wish I had time. I could talk for hours, Chase or I, about that experience. But having spent that time with Chase in that situation is invaluable to me. And I apologize. I missed a couple of weeks. I apologize to those clients that may not have realized I was out of country with zero service most of the time. But it is one of those things that I've got to be able to do some of those things with my family, and it's invaluable. And I appreciate Ryan.
It was not your family. It was one person, Chase, one. And do not act like your whole family went. They're smarter than that.
Yeah, they chose not to go, but it was an incredible experience for Chase and I. So thank you, Ryan, for covering. I apologize. I do not want to be put in a position where I have to go through this on my own, because I think it would be a train wreck. I think I've done that once, and it was maybe a 20-minute episode. So it is a little difficult at times. But thank you very much, Ryan. And until next week, be safe.
Y'all come back now. You hear?